Welcome back, Camden Catholic. Oh man. So sorry for the late post, but I thought that my videos yesterday posted to YouTube, but apparently my files were corrupted, so I had to redo them today. Not a big deal though, because this one's super short. It's only like 6 minutes long-ish. But hey, go birds, right? That's why I got so distracted at the end of the day. So going into this right now, we've been talking about different types of Renaissance artwork and the ideas of the Renaissance coming forward. So we finished the other day talking about Renaissance architecture, and that was considered the social art, right? We started the Last Supper. We started getting into some of our presentations. Really quick thing, though. We also have to talk about writings, okay? Speaking of writing, you have a writing you're supposed to be doing this weekend. Just one little thing to go over with your writing. I'm crazy nitty-gritty little grammar stuff. I'm looking for your content. I'm looking for your information. And I'm also looking for proper formatting, okay? So 12-point font, Times New Roman, double spaced. And remember, the way your paper goes, introduction, your Middle Age artwork, your Renaissance artwork and why it is more complex or different from your Middle Age artwork, conclusion, okay? In your conclusion, you can discuss which ones you like better. You can do a lot of different things with this little comparative essay. It's not hard, okay? All you got to do is get it done. Don't forget that. Intro, Middle Age, Renaissance, conclusions. Just 4 paragraphs. You guys can do this, okay? You can do it. Bang it out. You'll be fine. Speaking of writings, though. So let's get into writings. So the writings of the Renaissance were really different from the writings of the Middle Ages. The writings of the Middle Ages are, we talked about briefly last unit, that universities and colleges and things like that are going to be the first things to kind of birth themselves, or they're going to birth themselves out of the Middle Ages. But the only things you could study at them were like theology, right? Theology, concepts of Christ, ideas about Christianity. Well, during the Renaissance, universities are going to begin to divert off a little bit and to study the romantics and the sciences and write philosophy and scholarly articles. They're going to write guidebooks for men and women on how to achieve success. They're going to start writing more things about secular concepts, how women, like where women stand in society. And a lot of them were big jerks and were still huge misogynists and stuff like that. Like Lorenzo Alberti was like terrible. He said terrible stuff about women, like how like they're just half of a man. You know what I mean? Like this is ridiculous. So like, however, they at least started branching out past Christianity, right? So one of the biggest writers, of course, well, you know several of the big dog writers that led up to this stuff. We talked about St. Thomas Aquinas. We talked about Petrarch. We talked about Dante, right? The big thing about Renaissance artwork, or Renaissance writings, though, you need to write this word down. It's very important. Write it in all capital letters in the middle of the paper so you don't ever forget it, ever. It's vernacular. Vernacular. Vernacular is a common living language, all right? English, Latin, no, not Latin, not Latin. Latin is not vernacular, all right? But English, French, Spanish, Arabic, Swahili even, you know what I mean? Like, all of these different languages are vernacular languages. They're more like nation languages. They're languages that people speak every single day, okay? Latin is like the non-vernacular language, and like ancient Greek, okay, because no one speaks them anymore. So the big thing about Renaissance writers is they began to write in vernacular languages. Speaking of vernacular languages, this is a huge step forward because remember, what were most books written in the past? In Latin. Most books were Bibles. Who could only read them? Priests and the Pope. Like this is very shunning off of other people from intelligence. So the ideas of vernacular language were very important. One of the big vernacular writers was this guy, Baldassare Castiglione. Oh, by the way, extra credit opportunity. Whoever finds the picture of this guy in my classroom first gets 3 points on their midterm, all right? So anyway, I have a picture of this guy hanging up in my classroom. Whoever comes into my room first for each class period and says, right there! It has to be in your class period. You'll get 3 points extra credit on the midterm, all right? So anyway, but Baldassare Castiglione, he's Italian. This very connected to the Renaissance. This portrait of him right here, actually done by Raphael, the guy who did the School of Athens, which we'll talk about again on this week. So he wrote this book called The Courtier, right? The Courtier is all about the ideas of how men and women should behave in the Renaissance. Now, when I say behave, I don't mean like do your homework, go to bed. I mean like behave as in what you should be doing, how to leave the Middle Ages in the past, how to leave those ideas of fear and like gross stuff in the past and become more enlightened, more idealistic, more Renaissance, right? So he wrote a lot of different things. In his Courtier, he actually said the ideal man, according to Castiglione, was athletic, but not overactive. Good at games, but not a gambler. Plays a musical instrument, knows history and literature, but isn't arrogant about it, right? So the ideas of the man in the Renaissance world, according to Castiglione, is educated, enlightened, but not excessive, right? According to Castiglione, though, again, he's a little bit of a misogynist, the ideal woman should be graceful, kind, lively but reserved, beautiful, and offers balance to a man. We know in this modern era that any ideal woman can do any ideal man kind of things, according to Castiglione. So calm down over there, guy. Now, but anyway, these still, though, at the time, were very revolutionary ideas, right? This guy, though, is the most major Renaissance writer that we'll talk about, okay? His name is Niccolo Machiavelli, all right? So Machiavelli wrote this book. Underline it and quote it, okay? The Prince. Now, The Prince is all about how governments should operate, okay? So Machiavelli is now considered the political philosopher and is referenced all the time. You're going to be sitting in a coffee shop one day with some kids in college, and they're going to try and act smart, and they're going to try and be like, oh my God, this is so Machiavellian. Calm down, because they don't even know half of the stuff about the Prince, probably, and they're just being ridiculous, okay? So, first and foremost, it explains how a government should work. So the idea of Machiavelli and Machiavellian has been twisted throughout history to make you believe that it is brash or mean or fearful. It's actually not necessarily true. Machiavellian governments are supposed to be strong, solidified, and judged by their people, not the other way around. Machiavelli advocated for the philosopher king that Plato advocated. Wow, I'm trying to tell you to be smart, and I'm saying advocated. Now, but the ones that like Plato advocated for. The thing about Machiavelli is that over time, just because of one of his most famous quotes, two of his most famous quotes. First and foremost, the end justifies the means, as in the end result for a government, even if it's abusive to its people a little bit, justifies the means because you need to reach the end point of the end. But the thing about it, this quote means the end could be peace, right? The end could be away from famine. The end could be the end of disease. Like, it doesn't have to be like the end as in, oh, everybody's dead. You know what I mean? Like, so the other thing, too, is his most famous quote. Write this down. Underline it. Star it. Okay? But I want you to, at the end of it, to put a ... because we're going to fill in the rest of the quote on Tuesday, because I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. His most famous quote is that it is better to be feared rather than loved. ... What he's talking about is a king. He's saying a king and a leader should be feared, not loved. But here's the thing. That's only half the quote. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, how whenever somebody in college one day says something about being Machiavellian, you're going to be like, well, you're ridiculous because you don't even know what Machiavelli was trying to say. All right? So, and then you're going to yell at them about that. And then you're also going to yell at them about saying Cinco de Mayo as Mexican Independence Day. That's not what we're going to get into right now. We're going to get into that much later. But that is just a simple victory at the Battle of Puebla. All right? So anyway, but Machiavelli, huge writer. We're going to stop there for today, okay? We're going to finish up that quote on Tuesday. We're going to get into some more of our Renaissance artwork presentations, and we're going to start banging this stuff out, all right? So I'll see you guys then. Bang out that essay that's due on Tuesday. Hope y'all enjoyed that big Eagles win yesterday. I'll see you guys later, Canada Catholic.